So I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who's going to do a talk on thriving in the app-ocalypse. App-ocalypse, I like it. So Brett Orlanski from Bango, our track sponsor, Bango. Come to the stage. Thank you, Brett.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Brett Orlanski, and I am the head of product and sales for a company called Bango. We are based here in the UK, up in Cambridge. We make a product called the Bango Audience. It is a custom audience built around purchase behavior data, which I'll talk more about later. But we're here today to talk about what we affectionately call the apocalypse. And it's sort of our tongue-in-cheek sort of reality check on what's going on in the mobile app ecosystem. We've printed a cute little cartoon comic that kind of dictates what we see is what's going on in the ecosystem. And it, spoiler alert, it has a happy ending, but it's kind of a tricky moment, and not just because of the current state of affairs in the world, of the pandemic, of course, but specifically in mobile app marketing, the move towards more privacy protections and away from IDFA has left the environment of mobile app marketing just in a really, really transient and difficult place. Advertisers are struggling to find users who were never easy or cheap to find, now are just really struggling harder to find them, make it profitable. So we have fallen into the apocalypse. And I guess the way we kind of just look at it is that a hard job has been made harder. So what on earth are we going to do about it? How can we navigate this? How can we not just survive the apocalypse, but how can we thrive? We asked some of our partners just for some recommendations. What did they do? What have they done last year and looking into this new year? What have they done to be successful? So we didn't bring them today, but we had some video conversations with them that we recorded and I'll show today. So I'd like to introduce two of my virtual co-panelists. We have Jerome Turnbull from App-11, a company you may be familiar with, and Hagop Hagopian from Advertiser, which is a mobile app agency representing a company called Upland. They're going to be talking about two different types of games. One, Upland is a blockchain-based crypto game, sort of like Monopoly, trading game, a property trading game. And App-11, of course, has a massive portfolio of games. So let me introduce them in their own words.
I'm Hagop. I'm the founder of Advertiser, a growth marketing agency. And the app that I'm presenting is Upland, which is our client, and we're running user acquisition growth marketing campaigns for Upland. And Upland is the property trading game that's based on real world addresses. And it's a game that is NFT related metaverse, so it's built on the blockchain. And the game is focused on both platforms from iOS and Android and also web. The target market for this game is worldwide, heavy influence on the US. But you can think about it like any NFT or crypto related aficionados and gaming user base is a good perfect match for this type of a game.
App-11's a leading marketing platform that provides solutions for developers to grow their apps. We also own over 18 studios. And so my team supports these studios through user acquisition, monetization, analytics, and re-engagement. And we're a global business, over 19 offices around the world, and we leverage that international footprint to market our games globally. Key markets obviously are the US and Western Europe, but we also have a focus for APAC. And you may have played some of our titles. Project Makeover, Wordscapes, Cooking Madness, Final Fantasy, and New Empire are an example of some of our top games.
So in conversation with Jerome and Hagop, I kind of just wondered with them, what did you guys do to be successful? Both games, in App-11's case, it's a true portfolio. What did they do to be successful? How were they able to grow and grow profitably last year in acknowledgement of the IDFA deprecation that we're all going through? They shared some really, really important pieces of knowledge that we'll come back to after we speak.
One of the biggest changes in the industry was related to the IDFA deprecation. Therefore, we had to change our approach, meaning that because there was a lot of unknown, we decided to pull back on iOS and focus a little bit more on the Android side. With Android, we have been able to scale it up, and by using a variety of different channels, from Facebook to TikTok to programmatic and search. For Facebook end, we've taken advantage by using like Bango Audiences, which paid out really well for us. And in the meantime, not to forget about the iOS end, we've also leveraged some of those Bango audiences. Because of the deprecation, we've created some lookalike audiences that helped us unlock some additional growth on the iOS end. While we were going through those changes on iOS, we've learned a little bit more about how to look into the SCAD network and leverage the SCAD network data, meaning that we started applying some probabilistic modeling on the data and using some multipliers that we're seeing with any users that are opted into the ATT prompt, and use that as a benchmark for SCAD network report. And then outside of SCAD network, with one of the innovation I would say is looking into each channel and creative uniquely. Not using one approach that applies for all, but instead customizing the creative and the messaging by channel, whether it's Facebook versus TikTok versus Snapchat versus Google. And because of that, we have been able to see great success of unlocking additional growth and improving the conversion metrics.
2021 has been a challenging year. I think IDFA deprecation impacted all of us, or at least those in the mobile gaming industry. Fortunately, we had time to prepare for it, and there was a period of transition after iOS 14.6's release in June, where we were able to kind of make those changes apparent. That's now over. Roughly about 80% of the users we see do not consent to sharing IDFA, so that's just something that we have learned to work with in the past few months. It's a measurement challenge. I don't think user behavior has changed as a result of this, so there are a couple of ways to approach. The first is that we've streamlined our buying strategy. So that may be with the campaign limits on iOS, simplifying a lot of our campaign structures. And we've learned to operate media buying a little bit differently this past year. We're either looking at things on a broader basis or using some assumptions, looking at Android, looking at other cohorts of traffic on iOS where we are able to track user engagement and behavior.
So they said a lot of good pearls of wisdom. One thing I kind of wanted to just really double down on is this confusion around, deprecation, the ATT prompt that is put out by the SCAD network. I think it was Jerome who said that approximately 80% of his users don't opt in, so 20% do, and that's roughly in line with the data published by Flurry of those who, the chart on the far left, that do actually opt in. My loose reading of it is that this is a group of users that are declaring themselves as open to advertising, and it should be noted that it's worth doing what Hagot suggests, just modeling around that, creating a cohort of those users, building multipliers around it, and then taking that as your targeting cohort. I mean, it's not quite as simple as that, of course. There's some logic behind it, but that's sort of a category of users that can't be ignored. It's just too important to dismiss whole cloth. And back to what Jerome says is that it's fundamentally a measurement challenge. We have to measure these users differently. It's not a one-to-one correlation anymore, and that's what App-ocalypse has done to be successful. So that was largely last year, because this is iOS 14 is here, it's come and gone, we've kind of accepted it, we've moved forward. So what can we do now? What success strategies can we take looking into this current new year?
I would call in quotation like leveraging event potting strategy in the UA arsenal, meaning that any new NFTs or any new events that are coming within the metaverse, we want to spend a lot more budget that we would dedicate throughout the month or throughout the year. So if there's a new event coming out next month, we want to make sure that we're scaling the spend and running retargeting campaigns during that time, a lot larger budget, a lot more aggressively than usually. We still want to emphasize on the creatives. Creatives matter a lot. So still focusing this year on having unique creatives by channel is very important. Like not every channel is the same. Another factor is that localization and cultural localization. You want to make sure that you are applying unique messaging for different cultures and different locations and localizing the message. And with iOS 15, there's a lot of opportunities from custom product page optimization, in-app event promotion that's going to help us drive a lot more efficiency on the iOS end.
I'd try to simplify the measurement problem without deterministic attribution on iOS. You can't be as surgical in your targeting or your campaign setup. In general, we're pretty excited about connected TV, and that's something we're exploring more.
So again, more really good pieces of wisdom and tips and tricks. The easiest one I think we can come back to is creative optimization. And I think if you remove all externalities from your campaigns, the thing that will have the most influence on the success of your UA campaigns will be creative. And I know we talk about this a lot, and everyone says they do it, but I think, frankly, it doesn't happen quite the right way or as often. And really just making sure that your creative is, of course, sized to the appropriate platform, making sure that it has audio if that's relevant on TikTok. People, especially without tons of creative resources, will just port your Facebook ad to your TikTok campaign, and it doesn't quite work. It just doesn't quite right, it doesn't play well enough. This is just what these larger studios have been able to do. And it's just, I don't necessarily think that it requires a ton of work to resize and localize. Culturalizing, that's perhaps a little bit harder, but it's something that the successful developers have been able to leverage. The last thing we're going to talk about is what we started with, which is purchase behavior targeting. It's something they mentioned a little bit earlier, but it's a signal. It's a new signal that I like to think that Bango as a company is pioneering. We're not the only ones that do it. We're not the only ones that have been successful with it, but we like to think we're leading this charge. So what have our partners been able to do leveraging purchase behavior targeting in their campaigns?
Well, you see, Brett, with Upland case, it's all about going after the high LTV and the purchasing power users, right? The users that have the purchasing power. So for that reason, it's all about leveraging all the value optimization or ROAS optimization that's available across the different channels, from Facebook using the min ROAS or value optimization to Google leveraging the tier ROAS. And in order to make these work, we had to make sure that we're ingesting enough data to the algorithm through whether integrating the Firebase SDK on Google end and with Facebook, sending through the SDK, and leveraging the MMP SDK. And not to forget to mention, I mean, we've also seen a lot of success with the Bango audiences, because with the Bango audience, we've been able to create high value purchasing users.
Purchase behavior targeting is important for us. So any deeper font event optimization is a core part of our acquisition strategy. For games that are predominantly IAP driven, purchase behavior is kind of our baseline. We then supplement that strategy with other mid to upper funnel efforts, which may not have that purchase behavior layered on. And we've seen the most success by layering purchase behavior audiences on top of a buying model that goes after users that exhibit that behavior. So Bango's audience, for example, has been helpful, one, because it doesn't rely on the IDFA to find valuable users, but it also, we work with the Bango team to identify key segments, and that's the lever that we use in optimization across different campaigns.
So what is this? What is this purchase behavior targeting? Well, I mean, it sort of is what it sounds like it is. It's a signal of inputs that we can gather of purchase behavior. It's not just the amount that you purchase or what you purchase, it's the frequency with which you purchase. It's the attempt that you've made. It's predicated on a fairly simple notion that a user who makes a purchase in an app has a higher likelihood of making a similar purchase in a similar app. It's sort of purchase behavior that translates beyond just mobile app user acquisition and behaviors. It's sort of endemic in all of our lives. The notion, of course, is that 20 years ago, we were all served ads based upon things that we searched for. 10 years ago, we were purchased ads based on things that we liked on social networks. Well, today we can get ads served to us based on things that we have purchased. This is purchase behavior targeting. These are signals that we can gather into a custom audience. It can run on Facebook, it can run on Instagram, it can run on TikTok, and it can run on other platforms. This is what a Bango audience is, and it allows you to target not just new users, which are of course important, but those who actually pay. The well-known fact of the 95% of users never pay anything, it's more like 98%. So finding those who do make purchases has always been important, and perhaps now more than ever. This is a case study that we actually published with Upland, I think last year. This is the app that Hagup was referring to. So benchmarked against Facebook's AAA product, we can see 95% increase in ROAS, 37% decrease in CPA, and a 34% decrease in cost per unique purchaser. So it's incredibly powerful, incredibly effective. We're not the only ones that are doing it. Y'all can do it. We can do it with you. But this is a unique new signal, like I said, to produce really powerful and effective audiences to find new payers in your UA campaigns. So that's everything. I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer questions now or later, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you,
Yeah.
Brett. We've got a couple of minutes actually, so if folks have questions here about anything they've seen about the App-ocalypse for Brett, there we go. This one here, and then you next, sir.
Hey, sorry if I missed this at the beginning, but could you explain a bit more about how they aren't restricted by IDFA limitations with the Bango audiences?
So the cool thing about a Bango audience is that it doesn't use IDFA as an identifier. So not having it or having IDFA deprecated doesn't really affect us. It doesn't necessarily make our product better, not having it, but it doesn't make it worse, which is an important distinction. But it's not predicated on it, so it doesn't affect performance.
So what ID do you use?
I'm sorry?
What ID do you use?
We use an MSISDN.
Yeah, sorry, there's another question here. Yeah.
Are you seeing any differences in geos through your targeting through purchase intent?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yes, Western audiences tend to perform better, higher purchase value, highest purchase frequency, so that it sort of makes sense. Doesn't mean to say that we don't have great data or great effectiveness in other geos that aren't Western. Korea, for example, is a very effective country for us. But yeah, we do skew towards the higher value tier 1 countries.
And then the difference between pairs and players across genres, for example, hyper casual. Mm-hmm. How do you do event optimization targeting through people that don't pay, just through advertising?
Well, so to break it down, the cool thing about this is that with apps that are built around in-app purchases, this is an incredibly powerful targeting tool. But embedded in that notion is that it has to have a lot of, the apps where this works best has to have a lot of purchase frequency. So what that means is like social casino apps where there's a lot of currency being transacted. That's where these types of products, these types of data signals work best for results. When you have apps built around in-app in-app advertising, it's less relevant. I know there's some movement in that direction and has been for a while, but when you're talking about in-app advertising, in-app purchases with high purchase value, this is where this really has a sweet spot.
Great, thank you. And if people want to catch up with you, Brett, after this and find out more about what Bango can do for
Absolutely.
them, your email's there on the screen, but also I guess you're in Meet Some
I'm here. I'm here.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate it.